Here's such a simple butterfly chicken recipe that sits on top of a bed of potatoes. Alongside, you have a cilantro lime creamy dipping sauce. It comes together quick with just a bit of prep. Welcome back. Let's make a Peruvian chicken. First step is to make the green sauce that goes with it. It's a dipping sauce and it is delicious. So I'm supposed to use 3 jalapenos, but my kids do not like spicy pepper, so I will use a green pepper instead. I'm just going to roughly chop this green pepper. I don't even end up using the whole thing. I just want it in small enough chunks so that my blender will be able to handle it. I actually grew this pepper in my garden this summer, so I'm putting it to good use now. I do recommend using a jalapeno though, because the added spice and flavor from it really elevates the sauce. I tend to add some chili pepper flakes to a portion that my husband and I will eat so that I can still keep a portion for my kids. I added half a bundle of cilantro there. It was about a cup. I just cut off the really thick stems and washed it. I didn't get rid of all the stems though, because there is a lot of flavor in the other stems. Now I chopped up some garlic. I actually chopped it up a little finer than most things. Sometimes I find the blender doesn't process it as well as I would like, and I don't want big chunks of garlic in my sauce. The next component, you can either add sour cream or an avocado. I personally prefer the avocado. It adds some nice fat. It's a different texture and flavor. So I put a full one in there. I know avocados come in varying sizes, but the more the merrier. I add some lime juice, and lime juice is really important. It gives it that acidic kick. I add some mayonnaise, some white vinegar, a lot of olive oil. A lot of these ingredients, I just eye the measurement, but I do have the exact recipe in the description. Time to blend. Put it in a bowl. I always try the sauce to make sure the flavors are well balanced. I also know that it'll thicken up once it's in the refrigerator. When I do make adjustments, it's normally adding more lime for the acidity or jalapeno to make it spicier. And then, of course, salt always needs to be adjusted. Rarely do I put the desired amount. So taste testing is of utmost importance, as you can see. I will put this in the fridge. It's good to be chilled for a couple hours. The next thing to get started on is making the rub for the chicken. This is a Peruvian rub, so it has spices like paprika, cumin, salt, garlic, white vinegar, and oil. Make sure to add all of these components. Slice the garlic real thin so that it can really get into all the little crevices of the chicken. For the vinegar, it is an extremely important component. It tenderizes the chicken. It's always important for any type of marinade to have either vinegar or lemon or lime, some sort of acidity, because it'll really make for a juicy chicken in the end. Now, probably what people see as being the most daunting step is to butterfly the chicken, but it's actually a fairly simple process. I like to use some good kitchen scissors to cut out the spine of the chicken. It cuts fairly easily. You're sort of breaking some of the back rib bones there, and the spine will easily come off, which will allow us to open up the chicken. So I just follow along both sides of the spine there with my kitchen scissors. Butterflying a chicken is probably my favorite way to cook a chicken. I find I'm able to cook both the leg and thigh and the breast more evenly. And as an added bonus, you get a piece of the spine to use for later on to make some chicken stock. After I transfer the chicken to a Ziploc bag, it's my preferred method to get all of the marinade onto the chicken and make sure that I can rub it into all the nooks and crannies. I'm going to put some of the marinade under the skin on the chicken breast. Sometimes the skin can act as a barrier and you want to get under it so that you can penetrate the meat and allow for all of the flavor to be soaked up and for the chicken to be nice and juicy. The method of using the Ziploc bag also allows me to reduce the amount of mess. I don't want to be cleaning many different bowls that have been contaminated with chicken. I like to, or at least I try to keep the chicken contamination to a minimum, just have a couple surfaces that are used, and I can rub it all into the chicken in the Ziploc bag. Anything to make my life easier is a win. The next step is to cut up all the potatoes. They will form the base for the chicken to sit on. I like to quarter my potatoes. That way they're large enough so the chicken doesn't just smush them, but they're not too large that they won't cook. I find when I do use a smaller chicken though, I will pre-cook some of the potatoes so that way I know they're fully cooked once the chicken is ready. After I get all my potatoes into my Dutch oven, which honestly I find to be the best way to cook almost anything because it really distributes the heat evenly so it all cooks through. I'm then going to place the chicken on top of the potatoes. So the potatoes will elevate the chicken so the juices can all fall to the bottom. The potatoes will absorb those juices and the chicken won't get all soggy from sitting in liquid. If while cooking you notice the skin is getting a bit dark, you can just put a foil tent on top of it so that it doesn't burn. The chicken is ready when it reaches a temperature of 165 degrees, and I guarantee it is delicious.